Today I'm speaking to Professor Alan Dupont, who is the Director of UNSW's new Centre for International Security and Development. Alan, international security has become far more complex in the last 20 or 30 years. What do you think Australia will face in terms of security issues in the next, say, decade?
Well, we're going to face a variety of security challenges, that's pretty clear. Some of them will be very traditional in nature, the standard geopolitical risk, other countries perhaps infringing on our sovereignty, interstate conflicts in the Asia-Pacific region. Those kinds of conflicts are still going to be around in the future. But we're now looking at a greater range of challenges, some of them non-military in nature. They're concerning the resources of the planet, the climate, all these sorts of issues, infectious diseases that weren't regarded as security issues per se, but now are on the security agenda.
So what sort of programs will you be offering our future security experts?
We will have a couple of countries that will be the focus of our programs, Indonesia being one and India the other. And we'll also be looking at what might happen if we run down the planet's resource base, food, water and energy. If we can't find enough of the things we need to sustain our societies, what are the likely consequences for security? We're going to look at states in transition. We're seeing this being played out in the Middle East at the moment. What happens when countries move from authoritarian governments to democracy? Is it going to be a peaceful, stable process or not? Very likely it's going to be not.
Paul Keating once said that there was no country more important to Australia than Indonesia. Is that something that you agree with?
Indonesia is actually arguably the most important country to us for a number of reasons. One, because it's our closest neighbour and our biggest neighbour, 250 million people in Indonesia. It's a major trading partner. There are a lot of people who travel between the countries, but it's a country that's neglected. When you think of how important it is in the region and how little coverage we have of it in Australia, how little understanding we have of Indonesia, it's something that I hope in a sort of modest way we can help address in the centre by building capacity around Indonesia and having some very stimulating, interesting programs for our students.
And you also mentioned India. Why would that be one of the countries that you would focus on as well as Indonesia?
India is going to be the world's most populous state in the next 20 years, so it matters to everybody. Secondly, it's risen from obscurity, if you like, to becoming one of the major new emerging powers. It's going to challenge China down the track. It's a very complex society, and there are actually some very interesting historical links between India and Australia. So yet again, it's a country that has been neglected in this country. There's very poor understanding of it, but it's going to really matter for us in the future.
How do you feel as a security expert about our future?
There is a tendency to always think that things are worse now than they were before, but actually if you look at this objectively, if you look at the statistics about conflict, for example, between states or within states, the number and the intensity of conflicts has diminished dramatically over the last 30 or 40 years. The number of people being killed in wars has plummeted. Now this may seem counterintuitive and surprising to people, but that is a fact. So if you think back to the 20th century, we had two major wars, 20 million people were killed in each war, and numerous medium-sized wars. Now in the 21st century, yes, we've got a lot of conflict, but it's generally low level. Yes, people are being killed, unfortunately, but in far less numbers than before. So that's some of the good news, if you like. It's relative, but it is an improvement. And I think there's now much better cooperation between states everywhere on common security issues. By common security issues, I mean these resource issues. You know, are we going to be able to generate enough food, water and energy for future societies? Is climate change going to be serious? What can we do about it? These are common problems for all states. And therefore we have to cooperate together to solve them, otherwise you're not going to get anywhere. It's not a zero-sum game. So that's why I'm more optimistic now than I was probably 30 or 40 years ago about the prospects for the world being a better place to live in for my children as well.
That's good to hear. Thank you for your time today.
My pleasure.